All right, real quick. I'm trying not to be here before you long. Uh, I did a video hangout with shout out to United Conquer. They've been on the grapevine. We did a little dialogue on the Dapper Dan interview on Breakfast Club. When I get my audio situated, set it out, and I'm still learning how to do the whole hangout type thing. But we did a little discussion about it, and I wanted to go a little bit deeper than that discussion because I wanted to make certain points about the Dapper Dan situation, right? So we watched that interview on the Breakfast Club where he basically was saying what he's saying. My interpretation quickly was like, yo, black folks just don't understand about being global and uh, getting into the dominant market. And then when you go back and listen to the Kanye Sway situation, when Sway was like, yo, do it yourself, this, and that, and Kanye's like, yo, how Sway? How Sway? You know, you ain't got the answers. That whole situation, everybody clowns Kanye. It was like a viral moment, memes, whatnot. But now when you listen to that Dapper Dan interview, though, you kind of like understand to the fullest extent of what the man was attempting to say and what he didn't articulate well. And so I went back and watched a bunch of interviews with Kanye, what he was saying, and then I come back to Dapper Dan. So now there was another situation where there was this chick from the grill on there, and I took it. My viewpoint in that moment was like, okay, is this how men think versus how women think? You're gonna see it in the clip. If I could put all these clips in here without getting the video flagged, but basically they were happy that Virgil, who's off-white, got the deal with Louis Vuitton, and it does seem like on the surface, looking like, damn, these folks who making some traction and they getting popping, these bigger companies come snatch them up to put them on a team. But when you look at what Dapper Dan is saying, it's like, yo, we don't have the distribution power. Then you go back to Damon Young, dude who did Fubu, same situation. His Fubu, he was like one payment away from losing his mom's house because he didn't have the investment for distribution. He needed Samsung to do a deal with him to partner for his things to grow. So I'm saying, like, you look at the situation also with Shea Moisture and how black women got in their feelings over a 20-second ad where he was trying to branch off and get into the bigger market. What did the brother say? He was like, yo, I can't compete with these global companies. I can't just stay here and cater to one small base when there's a whole world of people who I can sell product to, right? And black women got in their feelings, and you literally heard women say things like, why you gotta be a billion-dollar company? Why can't you just stay here and cater to us? And blah, 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 right? So I'm connecting all these things together. I listened to when Byron Allen talks about how he got on and how he had to sue the government, he had to sue the FCC, he had to sue these cable networks, right? He did the same thing that Kanye's doing, but without the law. Kanye's doing it by going on social media, talking about give me an opportunity, give me the deal, stop, disrespecting my talents. He did it a way that looks suspect on the outside, but when you think about it, he's making people look at him, and he did articulate what he was doing. Like, and then when you listen to Charlemagne, this super woke pro-black nonsense that is like, yo, like there's elements and groups that keep us locked out in the fashion industry, television. You saw what happened to Rich Paul, right? And to me, that's just competition and people not trying to share and people looking out for their own tribe and not looking out for you. Everybody gonna look at it as a racial thing, but I'm like, yo, he got into their money. He is messing with their clientele and their future prospects. So of course they're gonna cock block, right? So you listen to Kanye say he's talking to all these liberal fashion designers, whatever. They not letting him in, and not giving him the tools, they're not letting him know what he got to do, and he went 13 million in debt trying to do it himself. Damon Young makes the point like you can't keep using your own money to do these things. You have to have investors. You got to have the right distribution. Same thing we saw in hip hop, where you can be an independent artist, but you won't have the same level of distribution if you join with a major label. Now hip hop is changing where the independence thing is popping off and it's working, but again, that's something we started and we created. The fields that we didn't and we're coming in too late, we got to go through their methods. Like, you can't just come into their whole situation and start flipping around and doing your own way. They can lock your ass out. So I say all that to say is, when I'm looking at the whole Dapper Dan interview and the responses to it, because you had my son still hating on him, you saw other people, the celebrities with the fake Gucci boycott, coming at Dapper Dan in a situation where he's like, yo, think about that. Like, these people stole his ideas, they won't give him no love. Then that situation happened, and then boom, his opportunity. And Dapper Dan's like, yo, y'all Negroes think too small. That's basically what it comes down to it. Black people don't understand globalization and getting the bag and securing the bag for the future. black folks in America don't generate enough revenue to take you to that next level on anything. So his position was that. You can still disagree with that or whatever you want, but that was his position. It's like, yo, I'm trying to go global. That was the same situation with Damon Young, same situation with Shea Moisture. They wanted to go global and they wanted to compete with other brands. And just focusing on a small black American market is not enough. You got to get money from everybody. And that's where we're at right here. So that's what I wanted to articulate a bit better. But I'm gonna try to play some clips. Hopefully this video don't get jacked up with the copyright, whatever. And we can to discuss that. It's gonna be a long video though, so it's got a lot of clips. So I might upload this again separately just to focus on what I'm saying here, so that you can focus more on that video. All right, I'm out.
Offered me a deal last year, and then he took it away. Then he signed Alexander Wang to Balenciaga. Then he sported Christopher Kane, and I think he did something else like that. I love Alexander Wang. I love Christopher Kane, but that's only happened one other time in history, and that's when Jordan was a third draft pick. It's only happened one time. My influence, I don't see people lining up in the stores. Anything I drop, people lining up. And it ain't one black designer that make a suit jacket. It ain't one black designer that makes shoes except for Jason Maine from Brand Jordan, who's just left. We don't got it like that. When I tell you only 7 black billionaires, look at that marginalization, and we feel like we happy because me and Rick Ross got a Maybach, or I got a Sprint outside, or a couple of us, or they put a black president. Man, let me tell you something about George Bush and oil money and Obama and no money. People want to say Obama can't make these moves or he's not executing. That's because he ain't got those connections. Black people don't have the same level of connections as Jewish people. Black people don't have the same connection as oil people. We don't know nobody that got a nice house. We don't know nobody with paper like that we could go to when we down. That could just put us back or put us in a corporation. We ain't in a situation. Can you guarantee that your daughter could get a job at this radio station? But if you own this radio station, you could guarantee that. That's what I'm talking about.
So why you don't start?
Almost had your mother's house.
It was almost gone.
Right. What
it was when I looked in and I realized that I was 4 months late on the mortgage, and I'm like most. I was at that time like most families. I don't pay attention to a bill until it says final cutoff notice or whatever the case is, right? And I realized they were going to come take it, and then she came back to me and said, you need OPM. And I said, what's OPM? She said, not other people's money. It could be other people's manufacturing, mind power, manpower, mentors. You need a strategic partner. I said, I don't know what the hell a strategic partner is, but, whatever. She said, I need $2,000. So I go back to Red Lobster. I worked for about a month.
Where you were working?
So I was working at Red Lobster. So I was working at Red Lobster for 5 years.
Before Beyonce said she was going to take him to Red Lobster.
Yeah. No, I was working at Red Lobster for 5 years as I was doing FUBU.
At the same time?
At the same time. Right, and I go back there, and after about a month, I bring my mother $2,000, and then she takes an ad in the newspaper, and the ad in the newspaper says $1 million in orders need financing, and 33 people call that ad. Now 30 of them were named Pookie and Laquita, Quaqua for short, and Sal the sausage, and 125% interest, had to live in there out of collateral. But 3 of them were real, and one was a $200 billion privately held conglomerate, Samsung. And I ended up doing a manufacturing and distribution deal with Samsung.
And that was when?
That's when FUBU started to take off, because now we had a strategic partner, and now my partners and I had the ability to go and do what we did best, market and go out there and really show value to this emerging market called hip hop, and just really respect and value our customer and deliver them a core product that they felt that they needed.
We're talking with Damon John. He's the author.
Is white people making the mistake towards black people? We're the #1 people that are ridiculed, disgraced, offended, whatever it is. They'll say something, they'll put an image out, and they'll say, oh, we're sorry, we didn't know. Okay, that's great, you didn't know. So perhaps you should hire people like Michael Cherry, right? Put them over there, and to save yourself from losing $100 million, pay Michael Cherry $1 million and just let him sit there and watch your stuff.
How about this? I think there's a better solution, because I'm tired of making people rich. I'm tired of us spending $1 trillion and not having it come back into our community. How about we don't hire Michael Cherry? How about we invest our time and energy into buying Michael Cherry outfits and make Michael Cherry the next Gucci?
Exactly.
Why? Because we're buying a label doesn't make it any better than anything else. I know some things are quality, but you can't make quality things. Of course you can.
I can.
And you do, right? So like the notion that we're spending for this premium brand is just ridiculous when you can get a knockoff. People are wearing they're wearing the knockoffs. Well, who was it? The basketball player, Jalen Rose, had I think a knockoff Gucci, and he's like, I'm not spending money on that. And I actually appreciated that he was wearing a knockoff. Not that knockoffs are good, but that he wasn't going to spend thousands of dollars on something that he's wearing on his body, because at the end of the day, like Kanye selling $1,000 slave wear. Like for people to look like slaves. Like what?
Except an investment in Donda. I got some more ideas that don't involve shoes. But if you guys are investing in the arts, y'all want to invest in this school in Brazil, y'all want to go to Africa, I'm standing up and I'm telling you, I am Warhol. I am the #1 most impactful artist of our generation. I am Shakespeare in the flesh. Walt Disney, Nike, Google. Now, who's going to be the Medici family and stand up and let me create more? Or do you want to marginalize me till I'm out of my moment?
Or why don't you empower yourself and don't need them and do it yourself?
How, Sway?
Take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Kanye.
You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
Kanye.
I've been doing this more than you.
Doing what
you
more
ain't
than
got.
me? Come on, chill out.
You
bro.
ain't got the answers.
Kanye,
you ain't got the answers.
I'm asking you.
You
a
ain't
question.
been doing the education.
Bro.
You ain't been doing the education.
Kanye, calm down.
You don't have the answers though.
Calm down.
Because you trying to give me advice about something. You ain't got the answer. You ain't spent $13 million of your own money trying to empower yourself.
Yes, but I spent hundreds of thousands and putting out clothing lines at a smaller degree. All I'm asking you,
it ain't no Ralph though. It ain't Ralph level.
Let me ask you this: I'm asking
what's the name of your clothing line? We don't know.
Kanye,
you know what I'm saying?
Because I lost money, but that's not
exactly. And I can lose money on a higher level too.
Don't think just because
I got the most of the least money.
Let me finish my question, dog.
Man, man.
Let me hear the question.
You don't have
man.
the answers.
I'm asking you for the answer. It's a question. Why is it that you can't? You have money.
I just told you I lost the money because I did not have the knowledge of how to do it the right way.
So you don't have the money to do it. That's your answer. You ain't got to turn up, man. This ain't no fucking show, man. I'm talking to you as a homie.
No, it ain't no homie, man, because the thing is, the bottom line is,
man,
everybody,
you ain't got to turn up you ain't got no hold up.
Ain't no hold up.
Listen, bro.
Ain't no hold up.
It ain't got to be no hold up. I'm asking you a question.
Ain't no hold up.
I'm asking you a
question.
Ain't
no hold up.
What do you mean it ain't no hold up, man? We here talking as civilized people. I'm trying to understand your world because when I go to your concert, I'm curious about what you're saying. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you the questions.
Well, I'm going to explain to you what it is.
Okay, but you ain't got to turn up on me man to man, dog. Fuck these mics. We could turn all this shit off. You ain't got to do this. It's cool. I love you, bro. But you ain't got to turn up. Don't try to embarrass us.
I'm not trying to embarrass y'all. What I'm trying to say to y'all is this industry of what I'm trying to get into, ain't nobody never broke down. Ain't nobody broke down. We all slaves. So I ain't trying to disrespect you on your show. We all slaves or something.
Ain't about my show, yeah.
I ain't trying to disrespect you, period. Let me talk if you're going to have me talk. We all slaves. We all slaves. And y'all ain't experienced nothing right here but a moment from a movie out of glory. Back in the days, the slaves had enough money, they could buy their own freedom. We all say we slaves to Nike. We slaves to Benz. We slaves to public perception. We slaves to not looking, what somebody going to say after the interview. Why you let Kanye do that? You should.
Me of is a few years ago when Kanye was on his thing about fashion and he was getting very frustrated about the same thing. How do we change? Did you feel Kanye when he was in that space?
Oh man, I probably the only one that could really had empathy with him. A lot of people don't understand how this thing goes. It's happening right before their eyes and they don't see it. They said,
well, Sway had that conversation with him where Sway said, "Why not do it yourself, Kanye?" That's where the house Sway moment
and that's why
from.
he lost a lot of money. Because he didn't know, he didn't know the interdynamics in working. He thought that you could go into it and throw, with all the money, throw a lot of money at it and it happened. No, it don't work like that. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know how it works.
Do you think he's in the spot now with his relationship with Adidas and all the things he's doing now that Kanye has the potential?
I think he's at the right level where he can function and show a profit. You know what I mean? Because he's not doing that by himself. Kanye and Adidas. I think he's in a position now that he can grow and get independent like people want him to see. People outside this industry think that you can do, we can go bake a cake right away. It don't work like that. You got to learn how to be a baker,
It's interesting because in other businesses, Ebro, it seems like, if it's independent music, you can sell your records on your own.
Right.
Clothing
To a level.
But clothing to a level. That's of course right. 'Cause
To a
people
level.
always end up signing.
And the barrier to entry is different.
And very
because
different.
you can buy a laptop and you could cook right there. When you're dealing with
Middle class blacks would not buy from me because I was like, they stubbed their nose at me. And the most revolutionary element that you found in the street that didn't care about what people thinks was the gangsters. As long as it looked nice, they would buy it.
Right.
But middle class blacks, they wouldn't buy it. So that was the mainstay of who I could cater to. And you have to remember, I was doing luxury goods, luxury street gear. So those are the only ones who could afford it. I hear like a lot of rappers saying, man, I couldn't afford you back in the day, but I could afford it. So they was the only one that had the money that could spend on what I was doing.
And everybody wanted to be the drug dealers back then.
Yeah, everybody wanted to be like the drug dealers back then. All the rappers wanted to be like the drug dealers. Yeah, those are the first people you see, man. Especially coming up, you see them on the corner, you pass them on the street. My generation, it was the number that we wanted to be like the number guys. They the ones who had all the money. Then the shift went into drugs, and then we all wanted to be part of the number game. And then then the drug epidemic hit in the 60s. Then they started getting all the money and buying all the cars. I remember like in the first Cadillac I've ever seen when I was a kid growing up was number men had it. The number bankers had it. And then it shift from the numbers to the drugs, and everybody wanted to be like and dress like the drug dealers because they had the power.
You ever look back and say, I created this high-end fashion? Because reading the book, you said you go to the store, you went to Gucci, you went to Louis Vuitton. They didn't even have clothes for men, and that you created that.
Yeah, they didn't even have it for us. You know what? This is how I did it, right? Who was the influences when I was growing up? The Rat Pack. Sammy Davis Jr.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra, all of them, right? So, and their stores was Layton's, Phil Cronfield, Cy Martin's, and that's where they were. It wasn't like a designer thing. It was just like minks, diamonds, and furs.
Right.
So when these brands, these exclusive brands, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and Fendi, when they came up, it's a shift now. Hustlers is getting designer brands because rich people who had those brands, and then the logos on those brands stated that, oh, you've been to that store. And so I looked at that now. I'm selling. When I left the street, I said I'm not gonna ever be bound to the drug game again. When I left the street, I said, you know what, man, I gotta find something I'm gonna do. So I worked with furs for a while, right? And then I said, I need something, another kind of cash crop. And one of the gangsters I knew, famous gangster I knew, he came in and he had a Louis Vuitton pouch. He's pulling brand new $100 bills out of him, and everybody looking at him. He was the major man. In fact, his name is Jack Jackson. He's the one who told on John Gotti's brother, Gene Gotti. They got him 50 years. Gene just got home, did 30 and just got home. So Jack was the man then, If you looking back in the papers, you'll see, and this is the last of when the Italians controlled drugs in Harlem. You see in fact, I'm in the documentary, I'm walking through the street with me and Pee Wee Kirkland, and I'm holding up a newspaper, and you see on the front page of that newspaper, I'm telling young people, this is it. And you see the Harlem Connection. Harlem Connection, that was the last time that the Italians had a hold on Harlem in the drug game when they busted Jack. And Jack told on Gene Gotti. And then that's the collapse. Then it shifted to the cartels.
That's why people call Reverend Al Sharpton a snitch, but he was actually trying to get the Italian drug dealers out of the black neighborhoods, right?
Well, I ain't gonna speak on certain things. I ain't gonna speak on like that. Yes, he was involved in that. There's a big controversy around that. But yes, he was active in that. But you gotta, if you wanna really know how this is, when we was growing up, we went to school. It's Benjamin Franklin. It's called Manhattan Center now. But back then it was Benjamin Franklin, right? And we had the largest Italian neighborhood that we grew up in at the time. It was larger than Little Italy downtown, right? We had the first Little Italy, and that was in Harlem. And so once you got over like 116th Street and you passed 2nd Avenue, you was in Little Italy. So we went to school with and they had two gangs then. One was the Italian Dukes, and the other ones was the Red Wings. Now, if you go online, you could read about the Purple Gang. So the young Italians that we were going to school with was the ones that morphed into the Purple Gang. The Purple Gang is the ones that became the murderous crew for the gang.
That has what I need in order to keep creating what I need to make Donda the best way I could say it is the post-internet Disney, but it's more like Willy Wonka. More like whatever idea I have, I want to bring it into fruition. And it's not, Willy Wonka didn't stop making chocolate because he was making other things. People, even people want to marginalize me from the top all the way to the bottom. It could be, or who's to say who's at the top or the bottom, you know what I'm saying? But it's people who just want to hear the music that are like, don't work on nothing else because we love your music so much, so don't do that. And there's people at the top that are like, look, just perform at my, son's bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Don't do that. And what Dr. King said about racism was, even if you don't, perform a racist act, if you turn your head to it, that's a form of racism.
That's a form of racism.
So as powerful as that is the way I'm trying to simplify and repeat to the public, to everyone involved, that is what they are doing to me now, because my demo tape is that Yeezus tour.
Yeah.
So if you take that Yeezus tour and you meet with Disney, or you meet with Zuckerberg, or you meet with Eric Schmidt, don't tell me I haven't written out the right plan for it. It's 20,000 people 4 nights in a row looking at pure creativity. So if I say I got a film idea, the Yeezus tour is more of a film or Broadway or a play idea than it is a concert idea.
Yeah.
Watch the Throne was a rap concert idea. I like working with Jay because I can particularly get into the zone, a high level rap. And we brought that Neo, Run DMC, niggas in leather, Lux, chains, and everything to the highest level. And now you see the NFL uses that same thing, bringing Tom Brady up on a cube.
Yeah.
Right? But would the NFL invest in Donda to just come up with the ideas in the first place? Like before there was even a Willow or the concept of it. Basically, it's like if y'all ever saw Semi-Pro and how like Will Ferrell was like trying to start a new league.
Yeah.
Donda is like the NBA of creativity. There wasn't Willow, there's no idea. Willow is the guy who used to work for Donda that now designs Jay's tours, Rihanna's tours, and Justin's tours. But he's still one of my best friends and one of my biggest inspirations, and also found a lot of the guys that work at Donda currently, like Matt Williams, who created Ben Trill, and also had discovered Lady Gaga and put Gaga with Nick Knight and everything. So right now, y'all watching almost a comedy of life right now. If you go see Semi-Pro and see how this man was trying to get people to come to the show, he was the coach of the team. He'd have to play on the team sometimes, and that's what it is. It's like, where would Michael Jordan be with no NBA?
Well, can I ask you a question? Not to cut you off. That sounds familiar. What I got from one of the things, if you go to Yeezus, if you go see this tour, which I encourage everyone to see, because I've watched concerts my entire career and I've never had an experience quite like that. Every song was its own story, on stage. Louis Vuitton and these guys giving you a shot, and Pharrell, and then turning their backs on you. When you say in that particular field, will you say that part of fashion, the fashion world, is racist?
Yeah, I say classist and controllers, because it's not racist because they love Asians. It's like, so it's not racism. It's more like, who can they control? I mean, a guy that was sent to me from Puma literally came to me and said, how can we control you? But you can't control me. Yeah. I'm going to bring positivity to the world. I'm Christian. I'm about to be married. I got a family. I'm not trying to do nothing but good. But I'm going to rattle that cage until you let me do it. Like, I was interviewing with Charlamagne, and he kept on coming with these old slave concepts of like, how you going to work with the corporation, but you going to diss the corporation. I'm saying, I want to be recognized. You don't think like half of Drake's songs was coming at me to the point where I had to show up on that stage with him? And now he's like, okay, now you see me. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm like, man, y'all gonna see me. Y'all not gonna act like y'all don't see me because it's 50 paparazzi following me. So no like grading card, Vanity Fair, no, it's no powers that could be that are on the internet, that are control magazines or that control media that can stop the movement.
But what I don't like, I had Buckshot from Duck Down here yesterday.
Yeah.
He has a new sneaker called Triple Threat, and he couldn't break into the sneaker world, so he found his own partners. They got their own manufacturing. They're starting to take it from they're gonna start from the bottom and work their way up. You're Kanye West. All that stuff you said about Marc Jacobs and those guys and H&M stealing ideas.
Well, I was giving props to Marc Jacobs for actually letting 2 niggas in. And the thing is, he let one nigga in, but he was a nice guy. That's for real. He let another nigga in that almost lost his life. So I'm living in the afterlife as far as I'm concerned. I'm living in a second life. I got heaven on earth right now, and I'm going to make sure that I find my joy. And I don't care about the stipulations of brands or names. People always talking about brands and names. I'm just talking about simplifying things, you know.
Yeah.
Eve made Adam bite the apple, and ever since then it's been illegal to be naked. I'm just trying to help people with their opinion on the law. I had some clothing mishaps. I've had some clothing triumphs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm the next Ralph, to say the least. Like, people are combinations of what they were in the past. So that means, of course, I'm a combination of Martin and Malcolm, but I'm also a combination of Lenny and Michael, but I'm also a combination of Disney and this. We are common. In the future, people will be absorbing all of what was. You know, think about what the iPhone is currently. Like, you would have had to have 30 different things in your house to do what an iPhone does in one. So for people to say the idea that Kanye West should only do music is ridiculous. Like, people told me I shouldn't do music back when I was in art school.
Well,
you know?
I'm sorry. I know our time is limited, and I don't see you, so I'm going to ask you all. What I don't understand is...
I give you a little bit more time. We can go. Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, man, I appreciate that, man. Then you gave me time. You gave me my first TV. It's all coming together, man.
I gave Sway his first TV.
God damn it.
Like, you just ain't never had a TV ever before in your life.
Yo, Kanye, you helped you, Sway.
That was classic, though, man. That was classic. But why is it that you need these people? It's like you said, you don't need anybody to do these things. You don't need Adidas if you want to do a new shoe. Why?
Because you need proper production to bring some of that certain value. I mean, the thing is, put it like this. In order to get, like, if I want to get this Japanese level thermal, right, at a better price if I'm starting small, I'm not going to be able to get the best price, and I'm going to be losing money to the point where I can't afford it. I went $13 million in debt working on my clothing line, and I'm getting Kanye Wested constantly with the prices everywhere I go. So that means that if someone got less money than me, they charging me a bunch more because they look at me as the money. That's something they do. They take these celebrities and they show you this fabulous life of non-billionaires. That's not I'm talking about it's maybe it's like 20 hot celebrities a year. It's 1,470 billionaires. Those 20 hot celebrities, if they were billionaires, they could make sure they're celebrities forever.
Yeah.
But they be out of there. They get the wrong hit. They get in trouble. They do this. They lose this contract. Blah blah blah. They are controlled by that. One thing is, I was out in Italy. Even right now, trying to start my own company. The type of people that work with musicians, for the most part, is very difficult to get high-end, respected fashion people to work with someone that's considered to be a musician.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get the good people because tell me this, if someone was a fashion designer and came to Dr. Dre, would Dr. Dre produce for them?
No.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's just as hard as it was bringing Mos Def to the studio with Jay-Z. Now it's like, and that's what the college dropout was. It was the combination of those things. But let's thank Adidas for giving me the opportunity. It wasn't that Nike didn't offer me a contract. It still was extremely marginalized and a slap in my face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they let me design, it's like, yeah, they did me a favor by letting me design, but they let other people design. They let Pharrell design. They let Eminem design. I just designed the Yeezys. I turned up where they didn't think I could turn up that far. and they tried to hold it back. It was like that moment, you know, when I thought about taking Nicki's verse off of Monster, because I knew people would say that was the best verse on the best hip hop album of all time, or arguably top 10 albums of all time, right? And I would do all that work, 8 months of work on Dark Fantasy, and people to this day would say to me, oh, my favorite thing was Nicki Minaj's verse. So if I let my ego get the best of me, instead of letting that girl get the shot to get that platform and become all she could be, I would take it off or marginalize her, try to stop her from having that shining moment. So what happens when Mark Parker's riding on his jet? Would somebody come up to him and say, my son's favorite shoe is a Yeezy? Now, they could have been working on the fly net for 5 years and working on this project, but what I was doing was so disruptive. As disruptive as that Nicki Minaj Monster verse was, is how disruptive the Yeezys were. People hadn't felt that feeling since the Jordans. And by the way, the Jordans only popular at this point because of two people, me and Don C. Because Don C was ordering them vintage Jordans when the 4s used to break apart on the sole, and we was wearing them back when I was wearing a Louis Vuitton backpack with the polos, and the brand Jordan looked at us and said, oh man, we got to start retroing them. Because when you think of Jordans, what you think of? You don't even know what the new Jordans look like. All you think about is them retros.
What's going to happen with the Red Octobers?
Kicked out all the Indians, and the economy collapsed. You know, so when you look at how we make progress through how we learn. But we have to get inside to learn, which is important to, you know, my relationship with Gucci, right? When you see my relationship with Gucci, I learned from Jomo Kenyatta that we have to be inside. We have to make sure we learn about the dynamics of these businesses so we can later run these businesses, and these businesses will be able to sustain itself. Now, here's another incident. I was reading Trevor Noah's book,
Born a Crime.
And in his book, you know, has the contrast between Nelson Mandela's a Hausa, right? Now, they have the Hausa and they have the Zulu. We know the Zulus to be mighty warriors. What's the name points out in his book that the Zulus will hold their head down and march into war valiantly, and kill and then die. He said, but we Hausas, we compromise with them until we can take over. Do you understand the difference? And that was the genius of Nelson Mandela. That was the genius of Jomo Kenyatta. That was the genius in the area. We got to get inside and learn the dynamics. And all of them was educated in schools, you know, in Europe, you know. But we got to get inside to learn the dynamics. So when we take over, we'll be able to, it'll be a sustainable enterprise. Okay, when they ran me underground and all the black brands came about, they all collapsed. Why we don't have no black brands today?
I want to know
because
why.
we didn't get inside. We didn't understand what it meant to be inside. You know, and a lot of people like, in the same way with Malcolm, he was a traitor, right? With Martin Luther King, he was a coon. So I'm prepared for any kind of thing anybody say because I know what it take to make change. You follow what I'm saying? So how you looking back at all these black brands changing, and then we get an opportunity to get inside, we change from inside.
So you got to be in these fashion houses to learn how to build them.
Exactly. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, we have a record of know what it take to make change. You follow what I'm saying? So how you looking back at all these black brands changing, and then we get an opportunity to get inside, we change from inside.
So you got to be in these fashion houses to learn how to build them.
Exactly. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, we have a record of the collapsing. Now we got a chance to get inside. You know what I'm saying? So what's going on here? Let's take a look at what's going on here, right? What is first thing we got to do? What was the mistake? The mistake we made is none of the brands was a luxury brand. So you can't.
None of the black brands.
Yeah, all the black brands. None of them was a luxury brand.
But how do we create luxury though? Luxury only comes from the value that we put on it, right?
Good push. No. Luxury comes from us having the money to buy luxury. That's the only way we can get luxury, right? But we don't generate that kind of money here. Now with my partnership with Gucci, right? I'm selling out in Japan. I'm selling out in Asia. I'm selling out in all those places where our culture is very powerful. So if we want a luxury brand, we have to have a distribution that's powerful enough that we can get our brand in those countries.
But what about all those drug dealers or rappers or whoever can afford? They can afford the high fashion stuff. So why can't the black stuff have the same type of value?
No, there's not enough of them.
He's trying to be international. He's
Yeah,
talking about around the world
international now.
and distribution even to get into those locations
Yeah, it's the
in
same.
other countries.
Exactly.
Stuff have the same type of value.
No, there's not enough of them.
He's trying to be international. He's
Yeah,
talking about around the world
international now.
and distribution even to get into those locations
Yeah, it's the
in
same.
other countries.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to figure out why we put more value on that stuff than we do our own stuff. That's what I'm trying.
Truly important conversation, and natural hair and black women in hair is a very important part of our culture and expression of self. And so anything that doesn't show an understanding of that, I think would receive this type of these types of responses. And again, for us is we're not changing our formulas, we're not changing the consumer that we serve, even as we grow. But we're in a position of where, if we don't grow, the things that people love about Shea Moisture, the millions of dollars that we invest in our community commerce projects in Ghana, and the educational scholarships that we provide to folks here in America, would not be sustainable over time, as more and more multinationals come into the marketplace and take share and take shelf and can outspend us. I mean, just standing in the green room waiting, I saw ads from Dove, from Pantene, specifically targeting women of color, and where they never served her before, they're now aggressively serving her. And so if we can't expand our market to protect our core, we're not going to be able to provide the great formulas that we're known for, the thoughtfulness of which we go to market. Mm-hmm. This particular ad was one post in a series of 24 to talk about the varying need states of hair and the products that could solve that. And so I think seeing this one by itself in the way that it appeared certainly was what sparked, I think, a lot of the
comes from us having the money to buy luxury. That's the only way we can get luxury, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't generate that kind of money here. Now, with my partnership with Gucci, but we don't generate that kind of money here. So you can't.
None of the black brands.
Yeah, all the black brands. None of them was a luxury brand.
But how do we create luxury, though? Luxury only comes from the value that we put on it, right?
Good place. No. Luxury comes from us having the money to buy luxury. That's the only way we can get luxury, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't generate that kind of money here. Now, with my partnership with Gucci, right? I'm selling out in Japan. I'm selling out in Asia. I'm selling out in all those places where our culture is very powerful. Mm-hmm. So if we want a luxury brand, we have to have a distribution that's powerful enough that we can get our brand in those countries.
But what about all those drug dealers or rappers or whoever can afford the high fashion stuff? So why can't the black stuff have the same type of value?
No, there's not enough of them.
He's trying to be international. He's talking about around the world
international now.
and distribution even to get into those locations
it's the
in other countries.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to figure out why we put more value on that stuff. Drug dealers or rappers or whoever can afford the high fashion stuff. So why can't the black stuff have the same type of value?
No, there's not enough of them.
He's trying to be international. He's talking about around the world
international now.
and distribution even to get into those locations in other countries.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to figure out why we put more value on that stuff than we do our own stuff. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, that's an individual choice, but I'm not going after what we buy. I'm going after, this is what our market, who we are, is our culture. I'm not going to argue with black people in Harlem or in the United States about whether you want to buy luxury or not or put your money in. No, if our culture is so powerful and it's selling around the world and somebody else is selling it, I want to get to where they selling it at. Do you follow? These major brands, there's no secret. When you look around, who are the influencers? We are the influencers.
Our
Yes,
culture.
and we
Right? And our ability to influence is going all around the world. I'm not concentrating on just getting this black money here. Why I can't get that global money if I got that global culture going on?
You're right, but with your voice, right? Don't you think you could have made a Sean John, a Fat Farm, or any black brand just as cool and popping as you did the Gucci's and the Louis? Because that was only cool because dudes in the hood was wearing it.
But you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm not thinking. Malcolm thought global. You understand what I'm saying? Martin thought global. I'm thinking global. I'm not thinking about this here. You know, they cater to right here. I don't want to do that.
Right, he's saying this is an established brand already
want to
globally.
go global,
so
man.
go into the established global brand, learn from that, and then you can establish your own global
Malcolm
brand.
and Martin weren't global brands. They were brands that were started right here in America.
But they took them once they got their foothold, like I got their foothold. Then you go global. You can't go global till you get a foothold.
So,
they had a foothold.
But didn't you get your foothold through the streets?
Yeah, I got my foothold through the streets.
So once you get your foothold through the streets, then you had the potential to take any of those brands global because you're Dapper Dan.
I didn't have but I didn't have the distribution or the money. If that was possible, I wouldn't have to suffer while I was underground. If we had a sustainable economy among people of color, black people, that can support a luxury brand, I wouldn't have to be here.
See, I think the problem is I think
because I knew who owned it, and they were really about inspiring the African American community and helping us to go to the next level. And at the same time, they chronicled all of our successes and made sure that we paid respect to the people who deserved that respect, who had gone on to achieve exceptional levels of success. I think it's important that we have that in our community, and unfortunately we don't, because a lot of advertisers have pushed us to the side, and a lot of distribution systems have pushed us to the side. Now, the reason why I sued, now it's a big deal.
Wait, can I ask you one question? Just so the audience who isn't as aware. When we look at BET, when we look at Aspire, are these black targeted or black owned companies?
They're black targeted, and they're black. Viacom owns BET. And, Aspire, we're asking through legal documents to understand the relationship of Leo Hendry and Aspire. So we want to know, because we want to have real, authentic, 100% African-American ownership of these platforms. We deserve it. Look, the cable industry, this is why I say, hey, black people, wake up and get a calculator. You're a multi-trillion-dollar industry, but you get paid nothing. The cable industry spends $70 billion a year licensing cable networks. $70 billion. Black people get zero. We're the only community that would allow that to happen. No other community would stand for that. We do business with a lot of major corporations. Coca-Cola. They don't spend a nickel with black-owned media for the most part. There are a lot of major corporations out there that pull money out of our neighborhoods, out of our communities, but they're not. See, what happens is, here is that institutionalized racism. When white people talk to other white people about business, they talk about business. When black people go to white corporate America starts talking about charity, donations, and who they've given money to. We're not a charity. We're not a donation. We're not that burden that you need to subsidize because we are a bunch of stupid baboons who can't add 2 + 2. We're a business. We're brilliant. We're resourceful. We're articulate. We're competitive. But white corporate America has a way of treating us like we're a burden, and we don't count. And when you look at all the hundreds of billions of dollars that are spent in advertising and none of it going to black-owned media, that speaks to why your newspapers and websites are going out of business and going away, and they don't exist. When you look at $70 billion being spent licensing cable networks and none of it going to black-owned ownership, that speaks to jobs in the community. Now, for me, as an African-American entrepreneur, to sue the first African-American president of the United States for racial discrimination in contracting, there is a severe problem. Now let's talk about the law that I use. It is Civil Rights Act 1866, Section 1981. It was put on the books to protect the newly freed slaves 150 years ago to make sure that we had economic inclusion. Because they knew 150 years ago we weren't going to get that economic inclusion. And here we are today, we still haven't achieved it. So I had to sue President Obama's FCC to give him a wake-up call and say, President Obama, listen up. You need to understand that your administration for Black America has been a Category 5 disaster. Under President Obama, unemployment for Black America has gone up 40%. During the same period, it has gone down 25% for white America. This is off of his own website, .gov, okay? Under President Obama, Black home ownership is at a 25-year low. So Black America, we're not living the American dream, we're living the American nightmare.
So again, let me say this to everybody. I just want to make sure.
This is where a lot of times don't necessarily want to fuck with us. You know, we go into these stores, they still follow us around the stores. But a lot of times we're the ones that's buying it and making it hot. Gucci, Louis, and all that. You are the one that you are the one that made it hot.
Yeah.
So like you know what? A garment bag where the world wanted to wear it, where they took it and Gucci recreated the outfit that you did years ago.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So he's saying like, why don't we create our own brands where we don't have to ask Louis for anything? And
I'm saying we could have made any black brand just as powerful as we made
no.
Gucci
See,
and
you
Louis.
know what? That goes back to the argument with Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. What you guys don't understand is we will create a Jim Crow economy. A Jim Crow economy. Let me tell you what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Booker T. Washington was saying, like, we could be equal like the fingers on the hand. No, we ain't gonna never be equal. I come out with a luxury brand, I don't have the power to make the moves like that. So we get 20, 30, or maybe 40 years for a cultural platform. Hip-hop is a cultural platform. We have to move on that cultural platform. Now, you're going to be building on a cultural platform, and you don't have that there. It took me 30 years to get where I am now. So if we start out right now, start from the bottom, like you're telling these young people to start from the bottom and build your brand. By that time, hip-hop done morphed into another cultural brand. You know, we got Asians that do hip-hop and do break dances like us. So once our culture, because of cultural inertia, once it circles the planet, we only get a certain amount of time, and it's speeding up at the, social media is speeding it up. So our base is our culture. And if we don't get a chance to take advantage of our culture right away, then we have to wait till the next cultural revolution. You know, you're sitting right up in here. I saw this before it was happening. This ain't going to go on forever. You're going to have to transform into the next stage. Correct. And while you transform it, and these other guys are starting from the bottom. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, look at the brands. When the black brands came out, they didn't have the knowledge that they needed to grow. But hip-hop did. So hip-hop kept growing, and they stood still and died. We can't have that happen again. So how do we keep that from happening again? Y'all had to get, everybody in music had to get with a major distributor. What's the difference? What's the difference between a musical major distributor and somebody over here getting a clothing distributor until we powerful?
You're right. They made billions and gave us scraps until we figured it out and then created our own lane.
And that's what we're doing again.
But I think the difference
and that's exactly the point. And that's what we're doing again. We got to step in and figure it out. But you got in to figure it out.
I agree with you, but I think the one fundamental difference will always be that we'll always look at the Gucci's, the Louis, the Fendi's as more value than anything that a black designer creates.
Because we give it that.
We think white ice is cold.
We give it that.
Although people love Off-White now, and that's doing really well at a Pierre Moss. And I think there's brands by black designers that are on the rise.
Yeah, exactly. But we still applauded Virgil more when he got with whatever
Louis
company
Vuitton.
he worked with, Louis Vuitton.
But he got that because of Off-White.
Yeah, but we still applaud that move
doing.
more than we applaud a black guy owning this brand Off-White.
What black guy owns a big brand?
He's the only one I know.
Do he own that?
Oh, I don't know.
We need to do our homework. This is the kind of questions we need to ask. We need to ask, do we own this? Mm-hmm. Don't let me go into false bias. We need to ask.
Let's talk
do
about
we
it,
all-
my brother. Let's
no,
talk about
I ain't
it.
gonna tell you. I'm gonna let y'all do your own. You know, we need to show. We need to know who owns what. First of all, we need to do homework. First of all, once we do the homework, then we can have intelligent conversation.
Yeah,
I don't want to call people out.
Yeah, I don't know if Virgil owns Off-White. I know he was a designer. I don't know, but I don't know if he owns it. I know we, you know. I'm not 100% sure.
I want to switch gears.
Yeah, pretty much. You know what I
I
mean?
hate it.
You know what
like,
I'm saying?
I was just talking about this in
Oh God, I was gonna bring this up right now.
But no knock to Virgil. You know what I'm saying? Virgil got a job as creative director at Louis Vuitton, but I'm like, Off-White is popping. Why
But he
leave?
still has Off-White. He's not leaving.
I really do believe Louis co-opted him. Like, 'cause they see Off-White
Right.
popping, they see Off-White doing his thing. They're not really doing good in the streetwear department. Let me go grab this guy and make him our creative
But that's
director.
what every brand would do, though. I would think you grab somebody that's doing
But
really
why
well
would
to
you-
make
why
them the
would we
creative
allow that?
director.
But you know who handled it well though?
Who?
Gucci
Okay.
with Dapper Dan. You know, remember the whole flap?
But they got called out. That's why they kind of had to address it.
That's true, but then they did a good job addressing it, though. I mean, I'm gonna just say, I
Mhm.
feel like I was appreciative of the way they brought him into the fold, and it seemed, at least to me, it was a respectful way of treating his influence and our buying power with their brand.
And they
Felt
did a
like-
partnership, though.
They opened a store
Exactly.
for him.
That's
and
what I'm saying.
hired
Yeah,
with
that
him.
felt like I was like, okay, bet. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes these corporate brands, they issue these like empty apologies, and you're just like, you're tired, like this Groupon apology for the
Yeah.
N-word brown boots. I mean, you just get tired after a while of like corporate apologies, right?
Well, you come from the fashion world also. That's why I really wanted
Yeah.
you to address the whole Virgil Louis Vuitton, because I feel the way I look at it is this is going to be better for his brand also. And this done a lot of stuff for people, like for Tom Ford being at Gucci. That helped his brand as well. Just like Alessandro Michele being at Gucci. We didn't know who that was, a lot of people, before Gucci, and he became a designer there.
But Tom
And
didn't
that
have
helped
his brand before Gucci, though, right? He didn't have Tom Ford stuff before Gucci.
I think so.
I think he did.
Yeah, he did.
Did he?
I think he-
Yeah,
I think so.
absolutely.
I'm not
And so
sure.
for Off-White, this is going to help Virgil's brand, Off-White, even more because now he's the creative director at Louis Vuitton. So that gives
Of their menswear.
Yeah, of their menswear. So
Right.
that helps with Off-White, I would think.
I don't see it. I think he just got a job.
I think it's kind of both. I
Mhm.
mean, I think it's kind of both. I mean, I think that I think that it will help his brand because it will give him. I mean, just the bottom line is it'll give him more authority and more resources in the fashion industry, which is, again, like I said before, notoriously racist, frankly. So I think it's going to give him some more gravitas in that industry. And I also think that we should be applauding, those of us who managed to break ground and, get these senior positions in a traditionally mainstream industry. It's hard.
He's the first black person to be creative director.
I
at
get
Louis
that,
Vuitton.
but
having done it,
it's weird when you say something is notoriously racist, but then we're applauding one of our own for being involved with them.
Because, okay, I guess I have a particular perspective on it, right? Because I've done this.
Yeah,
right?
she was the deputy editor at Harper's Bazaar, the first black woman in that position.
Well, but I've gone back and forth, right, between media brands that target urban and African American audiences, and media brands that target mainstream audiences, right? I can tell you, it is very, very challenging as a person of color to get any kind of senior level position in that mainstream world, right?
Kanye would
and
tell
once,
you.
right? Well, and once you're once you're, but it's so important for us to be in those rooms. We have to be in those rooms. That's the real thing. If we're not ever in the rooms, then we can't ever influence the conversations. I can't.
Why not build our own rooms?
We can build our own. We can do both.
Yeah,
Like,
why
that's
not
what
do
I'm
both
doing. Yeah,
simultaneously?
we can do both. But we still need to be in those rooms because, frankly, those are the rooms, whether we like it or not, right now, that wield a lot of power. Those mainstream bands have a really, really big megaphones, and we have got to be in those rooms.
So why
influencing
give
the
them more
conversations.
power? I understand what y'all
Listen,
saying,
at the end of
but
the day, people are not going to stop buying Louis Vuitton. They're not going to stop buying Gucci. Like,
So?
it is
But we
what
want
it
them to
is.
buy
And
more
so
Off-White.
Why not have the power to be in there and be the creative director and bring in some more people of color and influence it more and also blow up your brand at the same time? Hire some people underneath you that can be starting their own brands as well that can then, it's a heritage house. So in order for us to establish those as well,
I
you
just
got
feel
to
like we'll never establish our own heritage if we keep helping other people establish.
I think we can do both, though. And also, we can't just continue to allow these venerable brands to be run only by white folks.
And box us out.
Stop
Exactly.
buying the shit. That's all y'all need. Like, we got Off-White, we got other
I know,
stuff.
but
Like,
realistically speaking, like we have to be realistic too. You know what I mean? Like
that is realistic. Don't buy it.
I don't buy Louis and Gucci.
You bought your wife a Louis bag. I remember that. Ooh.
But she like that kind of stuff, but I don't buy it.
You bought it.
And she don't really like that kind of stuff. I bought it because I thought that was the thing to buy. You know, to be honest with you.
And listen, at the end of the day, some things are really nice, good quality. Like, it is what it is. I love Chanel. Amy, you love Chanel.
I can't lie. I like
Right. What am I do?
I might have a Miu Miu bag out there right now.
Exactly.
I might like some products.
Well, hopefully one day black people have their own designer brand that we can be proud of.
We
like
do,
like
and we buy that as well.
Like we're proud of the white man.
We should have the ability to buy any brands we
Well, what's
want,
the black designer
including
brand
black-owned brands.
You know what though? There's some really great. Let's shout out for a second some of the really great black designers
Yes.
that are out there right now.
Who?
How about we do like Laquan?
Okay.
Laquan Smith. How about Mimi Plange? How about Tracy Reese?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got some good.
I did an event with Tracy Reese before.
You know, Ron Donovan, he's got a great shoe brand. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that we need to be thinking about. If you are so concerned about this, then have some black designers on the show.
I definitely would.
All right.
Yeah, I wear. I mean, like everything I got on is black on now. I know this don't look like it because it's Rock Nation. This is Emery and Vegas Jones.
Right, exactly.
And Timothy McGregor's a black shoe designer, and I
Yeah.
wear a lot of his sneakers and stuff
That's
like that.
dope. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, you know, because I totally see your point. I mean, on one hand, you really want us to take all of our talent and our power and our strength and our resources and our abilities and funnel them into black-owned brands and then scale them and take over, right? I get that, you know, but again, just having been having gone back and forth, you know, between the worlds, I can tell you that it is critically important. It's also critically important for us to be in those rooms.
I agree. I just don't want us to feel like we need their validation. I think sometimes it's like I gotta have validation from Louis or Gucci. No, you don't.
Well, I don't know that he felt like he had to have validation. It's just a great position to have, regardless. Like creative director of Louis Vuitton, it's a great brand. It
Owner
really
of
is.
Off-White is a great position to have too, but whatever.
And he still
we'll
has that
see.
too.
I wish the best for him.
Yeah.
I've been going there. I've been shocked with the amount of people of color I'm seeing at these radio stations, and I'm taking pictures of people behind the camera. I told my son, take pictures of all that. I've never seen this before. My generation has never seen it. So I know what inclusivity looks like. So I want to see that happen in fashion. It's not happening here. We lost that opportunity when we made the mistakes and didn't study the architecture, and we lost 10 to 15 years without being productive in fashion. Because you got to look at fashion and hip-hop at the same time. They should have had the same trajectory, but one form of it fell to the wayside, and the other one kept moving ahead through inclusivity, right or wrong.
So, yeah, that's a portion, but then some people would argue, how come not build your own system? How come that's not possible to build high fashion, black-owned brands? Why do we have to be in those rooms? Why can't we have our own rooms?
That's the biggest question. And it's a simple answer. We can't because we don't know how. They couldn't with fashion because they didn't know how. We know how to conduct radio stations and a lot of big businesses because we got inside. Is that right or wrong?
Okay, it's facts.
You know, so we got to get inside first, or we're going to lose money, and we're going to lose time. And our value is in our culture. You know, we only responsible, of luxury brands, we only responsible for 3 to 5% of their bottom line. My brand, like people talking about my brand is expensive, I'm selling in Asia, you know, East Asia, Saudi Arabia, you know, the Middle East. I'm selling on, that's where I want to sell it. We can start our own, but we're only going to be able to sell here. You want to sell your records around the world, or you want to be able to sell your records here? That's the matter. We are entitled to go global if our culture goes global. We should be wherever our culture is, and we should be able to profit from wherever our culture goes. And
didn't have clean water, you know. It's making something that could be sustainable, something that's put in for the long run. Like what I told Sway was like, why don't you empower yourself and do it? I said, how? What are you talking about? I just told you I spent $13 million, and then he was like, I spent $100,000 or $200,000. First of all, that's a big difference to $13 million. And $100,000, $200,000 is a big difference from itself. That's 100% difference. Is it $100,000 or is it $200,000? What are you talking about? If I say I spent 13 or 26 million, y'all be looking at me like I'm crazy. Let me explain what 13 million is. 13 million. I spent 13 Bugattis in attempting
at least six of the full dress ones.
Yeah.
6 of the loaded ones.
Yeah. I mean, talking about learning, failing. You know, who's going to tell, like, I go and say I want to design women's dresses. And they just look at me like, what you talking about? But what I said last night, I said, I fooled everybody. I'm an artist. You know, I was one of the top artists out of Chicago. I got scholarships, American Economy Art Institute of Chicago, and St. Xavier. And, like, last night, this is like my my dissertation or my final project. Not my final project, but like, look, I told y'all I was an artist.
Look
Now,
what I did.
Yeah, it took me 10 years of working inside of rap, and that meant coming down here when Can't Tell Me No One playing and coming to the club and
Before
playing
that,
it. Yeah.
when you was running around Atlanta with Scarface
Yeah.
and Jermaine. I remember all that.
Yeezy after like 7 years of power, you know, but there was no royalty connected to it. And I can't look my daughter in the eyes and say, I'm giving the best years of my life and creativity to promoting this brand, and I don't see anything from it. Now, what's happening when I call out Louis Vuitton, I call out Gucci is I'll be in Paris and I say, I need to meet with the head of Louis Vuitton. And they'll say, well, I don't understand why we need to have a meeting. I say, okay, I'm going to explain to you why we need to have a meeting. I'm going to show you why you need to have a meeting with Kanye West. Because it's not that I could tell people, you know, what to buy or what not to buy, but I can make people believe in themselves so much that they don't care about an LV logo so much. And that's the reason why you need to meet with Kanye West. You know, they want to stifle our voice. And they want to apply that Willie Lynch theory that says if you let the first slave run, you need to beat him in front of everybody. So anytime you read something negative on the internet about me, they are applying the Willie Lynch theory. But this is the Harriet Tubman train, and we going to get free. This is their presidents on TV. This is their presidents on TMZ. And this is about free thought. When I was talking about new slaves, we are mentally enslaved. Also, the hip-hop cops, also gun charges, and blatantly black-oriented drug charges having a high amount of time is modern-day slavery. They want to lock people up. They want to make the business of new slaves. They want to confuse us with some BS